allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll begin by reviewing the draft minutes of our previous meeting held on November 21st, 2022. Without seeing any corrections or need for deletions or additions, I make a motion to approve the draft minutes with a number second. Second. Thank you, Patricia. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved without amendment. And we'll review the agenda for tonight's meeting as posted on the town website. This is for the Town of Brunswick Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting, December 19, 2022. We'll begin with Parker at 836 Tamarack Road, seeking an area variance, followed by AJ Signs at 664 Hoosick Road for a sign variance, followed by Bolson 663 Indian Creek Lane. Our first item of business on the agenda is 836 Tamarack Road. The applicant is proposing a 3,888 square foot accessory structure garage building on the 7.82 acre parcel, proposing a 54 foot by 72 foot pole barn structure. The one area variance being requested is the size allowance. What's being proposed is stated 3888. And what is allowed by the Brunswick zoning law is 1,500 square feet. The zoning board will open the public hearing on this application, noting that it was published in the Eastwood Press, which is the official newspaper of the town of Brunswick, placed on the town signboard, posted on the town website, and mailed to all owners of adjacent property within 300 feet of the project. I ask our attorney, Bill Crest, if you kindly read the notice of public hearing, please.
Yes, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Brunswick at 6 p.m. on Monday, December 19, 2022, at the Brunswick Town Hall, 336 Town Office Road, Brunswick, New York, 12180, concerning the application submitted by Rhonda Parker for an area variance in connection with the construction of an accessory structure on property located at 836 Tamarack Road. Copies of the application are available at the Brunswick Town Hall and are available for public inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons will be heard at the public hearing.
Thank you very much. Also note that the board noted at our last meeting held on November 21st that the application was complete, such as we reviewed the application materials, we included the letter of denial from the building inspector, also in terms of being complete for tonight's public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to speak for or against the application, you're invited to do so now. I'll ask Chuck from the building department, if you've been receiving any written comments on this application?
We've received no written or emailed comments.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicants at this time by any of the zoning board members? I do not have any.
No question.
So hearing no public comment, I make a motion to close the public hearing. November 2nd. Thanks, Patricia. All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing portion is closed. The zoning board members are prepared to deliberate and act on this application. And we'll note that the Rensselaer County Bureau of Economic Development and Planning has weighed in and saying that it will have no major impact on the county and that local consideration shall prevail. And we'll note that this application, as a residential application, It's a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, so no further secret determination is required. The zoning board members will review the standard elements for a area variance. We'll begin by addressing, to explain how no undesirable change will be produced in the character of a neighborhood nor a detriment to nearby properties created by granting the area variance. You can see that other residential and commercial properties in that neighborhood have accessory structures located on them, and the placement of this proposed accessory structure is behind already set up garage will be out of sight of his neighbors and of any travelers along the Tamarack Road.
It's also a pretty wooded area that he's gonna put it in.
And the board's asked to explain why the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance.
Well, they need the structure to store the equipment. There's a lot of equipment up there that's outside. So, because of that, they need the size of the structure in order to keep the equipment inside.
And then we're asked to describe whether the requested area variance is substantial. Again, what's being proposed, 3,888 square feet. What's allowed under the law, 1,500 square feet, a difference of 2,388 square feet. And it was noted at our previous meeting, it's a one-story structure, so that height is not part of this variance. I think it's due to note that the parcel is 7.82 acres. So I think that kind of minimizes the requested relief. And then the board is asked to explain how the proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
I think, as you noted, the size of the parcel in comparison to the building that they're requesting is so minimal. There's obviously going to be no adverse effects to the topography or the land itself.
Yeah, I agree, and I would just add in there, it won't have an effect on the abutting property owners, any kind of drainage, traffic, or the need for increased emergency services. And then lastly, we're asked to explain whether the difficulty is self-created, where the consideration is relevant, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance.
Well, as they state, yes, it is. And any request is usually self-created, so, but given what their intent and what the need is, it fits the purpose.
If there's no other further deliberation, the board will consider the balance between the benefit to the applicant as weighed against any detriment to the community at large or the neighborhood in particular, determined to grant the requested area variance.
You looking for a motion? Sure. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we grant the area variance.
Would a member second?
I'll tell you.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So the area variance, which is for the size allowance, has been granted. So, Ms. Parker, just kindly continue the fine work that you're doing with our hardworking building department going forward, and you should be all set. Have a good night and Merry Christmas. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Okay, next up, we have 664 Hoosick Road. This is a Wendy's in a zoning B15 district, where the area variance is for signs. So 2 have been allowed underneath the zoning law, but 5 remain proposed. It's a total of 7 signs. The 2 that have already been approved by the building department, is the front icon, the face of the Wendy logo, and then a pylon sign. In addition to the number of signs, also the location of the signs where the applicant is proposing to put 2 of the signs on the side of the buildings, where the Brunswick zoning law asks for all signs to be in the front of the building. And again, we just want to note that as reviewed by the zoning board at our last meeting held in November, the application was complete as included all of the application materials such as the short EAF, parts 1 and 2, renderings of the proposed signs, proposed location map, and a letter of denial from the building inspector. Have there been any changes to the application?
No changes.
All right, thanks. So then we'll go about to the public hearing.
Okay.
Thanks. So the zoning board will open a public hearing on this application, noting that the notice was published in Eastwood Press, placed on the town signboard, posted on the town website, and mailed to all owners of adjacent property within 300 feet. Oh, sure. Okay, fine. Thanks.
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given. The public hearing will be held by the zoning board of appeals of the town of Brunswick at 6:15 p.m. on Monday, December 19, 2022, at the Brunswick Town Hall, 336 Town Office Road, Brunswick, New York, 12180. Concerning the application submitted by AJ Signs for a sign variance for property located at 664 Hoosick Road. The application pertains to the Wendy's fast food restaurant to be constructed at that location. Copies of the application are available at the Brunswick Town Hall and are available for public inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons will be heard at the public hearing. And we'll note that the public hearing will remain open after 6:15 p.m., as that was the time that was noticed.
Thank you very much. So anyone would like to speak for or against this application, you're willing to do so? And we'll also note that Rensselaer County Bureau of Economic Development and Planning has acted and stated that the proposal does not have a major effect or impact on county plans and that local considerations shall prevail. Do any of the zoning board members have any questions for the applicant at this time? No. I think that what was just left open from our last meeting in November were the hours of operation in regards to whether the signs would be illuminated during those times, and then it was closed, the signs had a light to be turned off.
They don't have solid hours, but when they're open enough for everything.
Thank you. And Chuck, again, have you received any written comments on this application?
We received neither written nor email comments.
Thanks, Chuck. Basically, we're just waiting for the time.
think we're a minute past 6:15, so if you could call one more time for any public comment, and if not, then the board is in a position to close.
Okay, again, if you'd like to speak for or against this application, you're welcome. So hearing no public comment, I make a motion to close the public hearing. Would another second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The public hearing is closed. The zoning board members are prepared to deliberate and act upon this application. And we'll note that it's a non-residential seeker review. So for that, we know that the short environmental assessment form has been submitted with the application. So under the Seeker Act, where the board needs to review this information contained in the assessment and then determine whether, in the board's opinion, there is potential for at least one significant adverse environmental impact from the proposed action. So noting the materials in the application, I would say no, that there is not any potential for one significant adverse environmental impact from the erection of these signs.
Yeah, you make a motion then to adopt a negative declaration?
So I do, I make a motion to adopt a negative declaration with no second.
A second.
Thanks, Patricia. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So then we'll look at our standards. Number one, we'll explain how no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the requested area variance.
Their signage is in line with the signage that is on the other businesses that are in the area, so it's not going to have any undesirable change. It's in line with the design and what's on the similar structures that are in the area, so.
Then we're asked to explain why the benefits sought by the applicant can't be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than area variance.
Well, the location of the menu board has to be in the proximity of the patrons coming in and out, entering the drive-through areas. Really no other choice of having the location where it is.
And we're asked to describe whether the requested area variance is substantial, noting that the Brunswick Town Law allows for 2 signs and the request is for additional 5 signs. And the location, instead of being solely on the front, also includes the sides of the building. It's not substantial. A lot of the signs that are being requested are wayfinding signs. They're kind of in the back. They're for the safety of pedestrians and customers as they drive through. We're asked to explain how the proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
There'll be no environmental adverse effect. It's not doing anything to the water, the air, the soil. So there'll be no environmental impact.
And lastly, we're asked to explain whether the difficulty is self-created, of course, noting that the consideration is relevant but shall not necessarily include the granting of the area variance. Where, John, you're saying that kind of each area variance is self-created, but perhaps in this case, the applicant is constrained by the restrictions of the brand, of the restaurant, and kind of what they do and what they ask their franchisees to put up. So. If there's no further deliberation, we'll consider the balance between benefit to the applicant as weighed against any detriment to the community at large and the neighborhood in particular, to determine to grant the requested area variances.
I would make a motion that we approve the area variance for the 5 5 additional signs.
Second.
And how about the location of 2 of those 5 signs being on the
Oh, on the
sides?
sides of the building, and yes, also that we approve variance to allow the signs on the side of the building.
Thank you. And John, does your second
Oh,
still?
continue the second.
Great. All in favor?
Can I make one suggestion, which is the illumination of signs were an issue, so a condition could be that any illumination is off when the business is not
No.
open.
Put that in the motion?
Yes, that the illumination of the signs is off when the business is not in operation.
And John, you attach your second to that?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. So your area variances are granted. Just want to continue the work that you're doing with the building department.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate you and Merry Christmas. Safe ride home. So going forward for the 63 Indian Creek Lane application, our attorney Andy Gilchrist will recuse himself, and the board welcomes Mr. Christopher Langlois for the Gervin Alonzo firm. The town board will retain Mr. Langlois to serve as special counsel to the zoning board on the Wilson appeal. So thank you very much
Thank you.
for being here tonight, and we look forward to working with you. Just turn it over to you, if you just kind of want to update the kind of the brief research that you've done on this application so far. And,
Sure.
We'll go from there.
So folks, as Ann introduced, my name is Chris Langlois. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Gervin Palazzo. I will be representing the board as special counsel in connection with this appeal to the ZBA filed on behalf of Mr. Belson. I've had a chance, obviously, to review the November 7th appeal letter and all the exhibits that were submitted in anticipation of tonight's meeting. And the first thing that I usually do when I review a ZBA appeal is to make sure that the ZBA appeal is properly before the board. And the reason why I do that is this ZBA has limited jurisdiction to hear appeal. Okay? And it's set forth both in the state town law and the town of Brunswick code. And there's really 2 limitations on your ability to hear an appeal. The first is that your jurisdiction is limited to hearing appeals from any order, requirement, decision, interpretation, or determination made by the building and code inspector. Okay? So typically, the first thing you're looking for is there a determination by the code enforcement officer that we're being asked to review as part of the appeal? That's number 1. Number 2 is timing. Okay? The appeal has to be filed within 60 days after the filing in the county clerk's office of the particular order, requirement, decision, interpretation, or determination of the code enforcement officer that you're being asked to review. So with those 2 things in mind, I reviewed this particular appeal. And it's a little bit unusual in the history. I'm just going to briefly, very briefly, summarize the gist of the appeal. And by the way, this is my paraphrasing. Obviously, what's in the appeal is in the appeal. I encourage you all to look at it. But basically, what it comes down to is this. Mr. Wilson was living in a barn on his property on April 9th, 2021, the code enforcement officer issued a stop work order on the building permit that had been previously issued to Mr. Bolson. And in that stop work order, the CEO directed that Mr. Bolson do two things. One is to submit a new building permit application. And two was to obtain a variance from that section of the town code that limits accessory structures to no more than 1,500 square feet. So those were the two things that were in the stop work order. Fast forward to March 11, 2022, just about a year later, 11 months, Mr. Bolson does file a new building permit application with the building department. That application has apparently been pending from that time until now, with no formal determination either approving it or denying it having been issued. And again, the caveat here is I'm recounting the facts that are set forth in the appeal. I don't know anything beyond what's in the appeal, so that's all I'm saying. And the applicant has asked the ZBA to treat the failure of the code enforcement officer to make a specific determination as if it's a constructive denial of his new building permit application. In other words, because a decision has not yet been issued, or because so much time has passed, it's as if it's been denied. And that's the context of the appeal, in a nutshell. And so based on that fact pattern, there's two, and in the appeal also, I should point out, Mr. Bolson challenges the idea that he should have to apply for a variance of the 1,500 square foot accessory building limitation in the town code because he states this building is for agricultural use and buildings for agricultural accessory structures intended for agricultural use are exempt from that 1,500 square foot requirement. And there's lots of other issues baked into the appeal, but that's the gist of it. So based on my review, there were two issues that came to mind in terms of whether this appeal is or is not proper before the board. The first one is there doesn't appear to be a specific determination, order, or decision by the CEO on this second building permit application that was submitted in March of 2022. So I appreciate the fact that the applicant is treating the delay as a constructive denial, but I don't know, because I've never seen it before, whether or not this board has jurisdiction to review a constructive denial as opposed to a specific determination or decision denying an application. So that's number one. Number two is the question of whether or not the issues raised in the appeal are all timely submitted within the 60-day time limit imposed by the town code. And to that end, the appeal does seem to challenge the direction that was included in the March 9th, 2021 stop work order that a variance was required for from the 1,500 square foot limitation for this accessory dwelling. Mr. Bolson disagrees with that. The question is whether or not, and as I understand it, there was no appeal taken to the ZBA from that stop work order that was issued back in April 2021, which would be almost a year and a half ago, not right. So this board is going to have to review those two issues and make a decision as to whether or not you believe that this appeal is properly in front of you, in which case you would accept it, and you would schedule a public hearing like you do with any other appeal to the ZBA. Or if your conclusion that this appeal is not properly in front of you, for either of those two reasons, then you would issue a decision or make a motion dismissing the appeal for the reasons stated, and we would take it from there. I did have an opportunity to speak briefly this afternoon with Mr. Bolson's attorney, Bob Egan. I outlined these two preliminary issues that I thought needed to be addressed for the ZBA to go forward. He acknowledged or he understood the issues that were being raised, and we discussed allowing the applicant an opportunity to submit something to this board addressing those two issues, so that you just have the applicant's position in front of you before you make that decision. I understand from speaking with Ann, the next ZBA meeting is January 23rd, so I thought it might makes sense to ask the applicant to submit something to the board in writing by January 16th, the week before the ZBA meeting, so that we have an opportunity to take a look at that before we come back and then make a determination about whether you're accepting or not accepting this appeal. I thought that the 16th of January would kind of be on the holidays and give you guys a little bit of breathing room. If there's a different schedule that you'd like to propose, certainly, I'm assuming the board would be willing to entertain it. And by the way, while they're thinking, does any board members have any questions for me about what I just discussed? I know I threw a lot out there pretty quickly. And those are two issues that I identified in my review. If there's any other issues that the board members might have about, again, not the merits, but whether the appeal is properly in front of you that you want to add to the list of things we'd like the applicant to address, we can certainly discuss those as well.
So,
Please.
yes. So first, thank you for the one, I appreciate that you correctly and accurately described the conversations. We discussed the actual dates on the phone.
We didn't get a drop
Yeah, correct. And we appreciate the opportunity to submit a submission of writing regarding the issues that Mr. Manuel raises. I guess I just don't want to hamstring myself with 15 because folks going on vacation. If we could have up, to the date of the hearing, that would be great. I understand your consideration in terms of having the time to review it. I don't think it's going to be materially different than the positions we took in our papers that's before the board already. But, given the fact that we're sort of hearing about this for the first time today, what I don't want to do is sort of put ourselves in the box in terms of timing. So I appreciate the consideration.
So we meet on the third Monday of each month, but for January, because of the holiday, we're meeting on the 4th. That's why it's the 23rd.
I'm sorry, what's the January date?
So we regularly meet on the 3rd, so it would be the 16th. It is a holiday, so the offices are closed. That's why it's the 23rd.
I got you.
Yep. So, Chris, you suggested the 16th, which would be a week from the 23rd. How about the end of that week? So like the 20th, if you could kindly get them to the building department by the 20th for distribution to the zoning board members on that Friday, the 20th. So time-wise, Chuck, when would be a good time?
The 19th.
Oh, the 19th would be better. Uh-huh. So is that our compromise?
Well, I'll
Or we can delay until the, what would be the 27th of February, because again, on February, the third Monday of the month is a holiday.
So you're saying we'll skip January, we'll meet?
If you can't make the timeline on the 23rd, then we go to Feb.
Okay.
Is this, well, let me ask this then. Is this a formal vote that you're going to need to take tonight, or is this something that I can speak with Mr. Lanois about over the next day or two?
I think that's something that you can discuss.
Absolutely. So I think the ZBA is trying to give you options.
Yes,
Okay,
no, I
so-
appreciate that.
So if you'd like to have this addressed at the January 23rd meeting, if you're looking to have something, I think, January 19th would be better. If that doesn't work,
Yep.
we have the option of pushing to the February meeting. And what was the February date?
27th, again, for
Would
the
be-
holiday on the third Monday, which is the 20th, offices are closed. We'll meet on the 27th.
And we'd have to have everything in the office February 23rd,
Okay,
which is a Thursday.
okay.
So those are the two options. So we can work that out
Yeah.
between us, and then I'll let you know. The only thing I want you to understand is there's a 62-day period for the board to schedule and hold a public hearing on the appeal.
Right.
That 62 days isn't going to start running until the ZBA decides it's actually accepting the appeal
I understand.
and to resolve those issues.
Yes,
So that just seems you're getting pushed out a little bit.
yes,
So I'm on the same page.
thank you very much.
Good, all right.
I just have one thing.
Yeah.
I know that we're requesting the information, but is it within reason to specifically request the reason that they're filing for an agricultural
If I'm
variance, for it to be agricultural, what the specific use on
That gets
agricultural?
more to the merits.
Okay.
Right? So that's, does their appeal have merit is a separate question of, are you guys even able to hear the appeal?
Okay.
So there will be a time for that.
Okay.
Where you'll be able to ask for whatever you want from the applicant in terms of their position. But right now, we have that threshold issue of, is there even anything in front of you to ask about?
Okay.
So I think it makes sense to take care of that first. And assuming you guys decide the appeal is properly in front of you, schedule a public hearing, and you guys can ask the applicant to submit whatever you think will help you make a decision on the matter.
Understood.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other items for new business tonight? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I'll
I'll
make a motion.
second it.
Oh, okay, John. Thank you for the
Makes
motion,
motion.
Tricia. Thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Our meeting is closed. Thank you.
That's what she did say.
I'll do that. No, you were right.
Sure.
It's just.
Yeah.